because you need to have the arrogance or the ego to know that you are better, right? Because that was what will get you the fuck up in the morning, right? But you also have to have the fear that you will fail to make sure you keep doing the work. You need to have impulse control because every entrepreneur has a million ideas every day of the week, right? And it's about creating a hierarchy of importance around those ideas. What ideas are actually worth your time, money, and effort, right? But then you also need to be able to do that on repeat for a long period of time without any progress, delayed gratification. And if you can just have delayed gratification, impulse control, know that you're better, and fear that you'll fail around people, marketing, sales, operations, and finance, you'll move. You'll be able to make fucking massive moves.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me. And what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Take into your hands a plan, your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the...
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Lamb to Lion podcast. This is our first episode. It's a little bit of a new venture here for us, and I'm joined here and will be joined most of the time by my co-host, my right-hand man, my 2IC here at LIONSTONE, Patrick Russell. Welcome.
Thank you. What's going on, guys? Hope you're all well. I know the podcast hasn't started yet, but if you could, give us a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening to on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, if you find some kind of value from this podcast.
It is, it's one of those things going into this podcast space that, a little bit of shareability, a little bit of a review does go a long way, and we appreciate it. Obviously, we've taken a large dive into the content space, using this facility to be something that we can bring better content to you guys. But I guess for some of you might be familiar with, who I am, what I do, and what LIONSTONE has created. And some of you may not be. Some of you may be new here. So if you are, welcome. But from Lambs to Lions, or the Lambs to Lions podcast rather, is going to be something that I've wanted to bring to everyone for a very long time. In that I feel like in the business mindset and motivation space, there's not a lot of stuff that gives actual practical application as to how to build a business, how to scale a business, how to even start up a business. What are the necessary requirements to get there? And that's the intention. Okay. The intention is to try and build people, businesses from lambs to lions. So from something that is submissive and weak to something that dominates and fucking takes over the world. That's our intention. And as Pat said, if you do get any value, it'll be fucking greatly appreciated if you do share it. Share it to your story, put a 5-star review, and whatever it might be. But episode 1, I really just want to take an opportunity to give you guys a bit of an expectation as to what we're going to be covering, and go through some lessons along the way as to building business, and even the mentoring space in business and what it all means and what it all kind of, how to navigate it, how to navigate the space in business and what business really is. So without further ado, let's get into it, man. So as far as I'm aware, I think you would probably have a pretty good, I guess, bird's eye view, or maybe just at least a different perspective as to what it's taken to grow LIONSTONE, because you've gone through the process of being a client, now being part of it, now being 2IC, being the guy that essentially allows me to bounce ideas off. What's this process been for you? I think let's not go too far into the origin story of LIONSTONE. That can come later. I don't really care. But in the position you're in, obviously you're around me a lot. What are some of the things that you've wanted to, what are some of the things that you found the most valuable so far along the way? I think that will just open up this first conversation. From a growth perspective, business perspective. Yeah.
You've opened my eyes to a lot of things, not necessarily like coming from a place of where I obviously had my own PT business that kind of went under during COVID, the whole thing there, and then moving up as a employee, and then moving into the 2IC spot, because originally, I didn't think I knew anything about business. I didn't know anything really at all. And then you've kind of took me under your wing and taken me to a whole new level where I actually have an appreciation for where this company is at now.
Mm-hmm. I think that comes with failure. Like you said, man, like something that went under. I think that appreciation comes from a place where like you know what it takes for it, or know the potential other side of the coin.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people at home might resonate with that, with, you know, having gone through something that may not have potentially gone in the direction they thought it would. And I guess how to take opportunity and, you know, really strike while the iron is hot. So I think I can really say that I'm thankful for the, you know, the position you've grown into, right? Like having someone to talk to, having someone to bounce ideas off is something that's somewhat foreign, I think, for most people in business, unless you do build out, you know, so to speak, the full infrastructure of a business early, which takes cash flow. So most people can't do it. Like I feel like a lot of people just wear every hat in the business for a very fucking long time. And growing in the direction we have, it's allowed me to take a step back and not wear every single hat.
Let's backtrack to that real quick. Do you think it's important that someone needs to wear the hat? How long? When do you think they can start taking those hats off?
Man, I think initially when it comes to building a business, the thing when it comes to building a business, man, the owner, the person, the operator, the founder should be the person that carries the weight of the world, right? And I liken this to the story of Atlas. I think, you know, for people at home that might not be familiar with it, Atlas essentially mythical, I think it's Greek mythology. Yep. So Greek mythology, like there was a big war, and then, you know, between the Titans and the gods, and Atlas was a Titan, and Zeus essentially won the war and tasked Atlas with a punishment of holding the heavens up, holding the weight of the world on his shoulders. But this was a strategical play by Zeus, because he knew that Atlas was the only one that was able, that could do it, that could withstand and weather the storm of that weight. And I think business owners need to take that mindset of owning that, putting the weight of the world on your shoulders, knowing that you're the only one that can carry it. You're the only one that can, you know, steer the ship, so to speak, and finding comfort in that. Because I think to grow initially, you need to be the one that does wear all the hats and does carry the weight and does take the responsibility. And if it falls down, it's on your shoulders. And it comes with time that you can start to, I guess, build an infrastructure and build at least a support system, a stable base around, you know, what you've built, so that you have better opportunity to, if you do fall, there are people to catch the crumbs and catch the things that fall, so that they can start to pull them back up to your level. So I think to answer your question, I think initially it's important. I think you need to wear every hat. I think you need to be prepared to wear every hat, because if you aren't, and you hire out and you outsource, you don't know what's to a good standard. You don't know what's in line with your brand. And worst case scenario, if everything falls to pieces and you don't have the skill set required for you to do at least a decent job, how do you fucking grow?
That's a good point. What are some like key indicators of where people can what are some, probably the best word is like metrics that people can start looking at to where they can take those hats off?
Look, dude, I think business has 5 pillars, and I think these are probably the 5 pillars that we will cover when it comes to this whole podcast, and we will rotate on a regular basis as to what these pillars would be. And this is probably just going to be an inadvertently, like, not something that we've really discussed. But I think the 5 pillars realistically are people, marketing, sales, finance, and operations. And then look, let's throw a 6th one in, and just like mindset. Right, the mindset of the actual, you know, individual and ability to weather the storm, so to speak. But those 5 things they're all the things that you can actually outsource into, and they're realistically the 5 levers that you can pull in any given moment to create growth. And like creating growth and creating scale is all about, you know, something that I've tried to, you know, really drill into LIONSTONE as a whole, is turning each unit of input into something that doubles, triples, and compounds. Right, rather than just being 1 for 1, you start to get a 1 to 100 response. So, and it's about breaking those pillars apart and going, okay, what makes up a good sales process or sales, and that's like even goes into purchasing process, like buying psychology, etc. Right, marketing, people, what builds good structure, builds good culture, good community. All of that stuff are things that you can pull, but you need to learn. And I like, the big hope for me is like to give people the skill set to learn how to do that and compound it, not just do it and trade time for money forever. Because I feel like, man, most business owners, especially in the startup phase, especially in our industry, right? Like if you look at the fitness industry, like people are just fucking trading time for money.
It's a necessity in the beginning anyway. Do you think?
Yeah. Dude, I agree. I think, really, well, what else do you have?
Not much.
Yeah. Like if you're in your startup phase, you've got no resources, you've got no leverage. So you need to get fucking resourceful and you need to find leverage. And the only way you can do that is through time. So I think like, but like that being said, man, the whole purpose of what I want to talk about here is trying to get people away from that, trying to get away from, trade time for money, because it's a failing model.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like in a digital age, man, like if all you can do is trade time for money, you're setting yourself up for failure because you can't scale. And if you can't scale, eventually you will fucking fail because the mindset of the individual will start to crumble. If all you do is trade time for money, and that, like, personal trainers is not personal training as a whole. Here's a fucking, I guess a pretty harsh claim. It's not a career. Personal training in person is not a career because you can't do it until you're 50, 60. I don't want to be, pulling weights off a rack when I'm 50. Yeah. Like I look at my dad, he's in his early 60s. Like, could he do that? No. Could he do, another job? Yes. Like it's a matter of like long-term longevity. I don't think personal training is a career. I think coaching is a career. Yeah. Creating scale is a career. But the conversations that I want to have, man, are very few and far between fitness. Yeah. Like I don't think like fitness is obviously where we've built our brand and what we do, but I don't think fitness is like a good representation of true business. Okay. In most aspects, man. You look at most personal trainers, they don't run businesses. They run hobbies and have 50 bosses.
That's a very good point. How can people start to change that?
Oh man, it's like we said before, like you said, as far as like what hat do you take off? Yeah. Like try and figure out what hat you hate wearing the most. For me, it was the operations hat. It was like hire out, get a VA, build up an operations manager, build that whole system and team out, so it becomes something that I don't want to deal with because I can't deal with it. Yeah.
Is when you decide to start taking hats off, is it best to approach what you're worst at or what you hate most?
Interesting. I think both come with benefit because what you're worst at will get done more efficiently, right? Which means someone will come in with a different skill set and you're not really hiring off character. You're basically hiring off skill set that you don't have, which broadens this perspective and broadens the scope of your business and your brand because someone can make the moves faster and better and easier, which means they're going to be able to recognize problems faster, easier, better as well. Yep.
So it frees up more efficiency.
It's way more efficiency, right? But then it's like, okay, if that's the first hire that you're making, maybe not, because efficiency is something that,
Is it a luxury?
No, inefficiency is. Okay. Inefficiency is a luxury, man, because like early in the game of business, you have time to give. Yep. Right? So you can be inefficient. You can just take the time. You can put the units of input. You don't have to have compounding interest on input. Whereas like people that are further down the road don't have the time availability to just fucking hustle, grind and do the things. They need systems. They need to build process. They need to build teams. They need to work with people. They need to manage and so on.
Yeah, because the bigger your business gets, the more limited and valuable your time will be.
Yeah, but also like the more leverage you have, right? So like I said, when you start out, you have no resources, you have no leverage, you have to find them. Whereas when you're bigger, when you have more capital, when you have more revenue, when you have a larger brand equity, leverage comes. Yeah. Leverage is almost the default. Yeah. Right. So like if we're talking about early in the days where it's like hiring or taking off that first hat to be more efficient, I would probably argue against it. Right. I would go away and go, all right, well, what do I hate the most? Because that's going to destroy more process and more progress than what you actually think it will. If you hate one portion of what you do, that's going to then flow on and, infiltrate other portions of what you do.
I get you.
So like if we look at, if there's a job you hate doing but can do, right? And then there's another job that you're worst at, but just keep kind of plugging away at it, right? You'll get better at that thing. That's fine. Yeah. But the thing you hate will stop you from doing all the other things that you should do.
Interesting.
Right. And I think early on in business, man, hating anything you do sucks. Yeah. And it compound sucks, right? Like it will weigh on you and it will make everything else seem so much worse. So if you're in a position where you have capital and you have the ability to, the cash flow is there to outsource the things you hate doing, not the things that you're not good at. If those things are the same, amazing. It's like that's a good place to be. The thing you hate doing is also the thing you fucking suck at.
Yeah. Interesting.
Great.
Interesting. And then when it comes to looking at, I don't know if you want to go down this rabbit hole this episode, but like outsourcing, what are the first key steps someone needs to look at when they outsource?
Oh man, capability. Dude, like, are they capable?
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Are they valid?
Okay.
Here's a better one.
The better question is, at what point? We'll start. This is a better starting point for this question. At what point in the business do you think people should start outsourcing?
Same answer, man. When it's valid, right? And so validity is a moving scale, right? Valid by, is it proven? Do you need it? Is it clear? Right? And is it predictable? So validity and predictability are the two things, right? So when you hire, you look for, are they valid? Right? Can they do the job? Is the job required to be done?
Yep.
Right? And can you create predictability from it? So can you get a system out of them? Can it be like, if this is done, this happens?
Okay.
Right? Those two things will then build out your framework of growth, right? And now for, building out a framework, the two things you need is like, will it work? And can I repeat it?
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. And it's like, in terms of the validity part, is that just like, is this a valid choice to do? Is that what you're saying? Or is it just like someone's laziness is making them want to hire?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Like the latter.
So if you're lazy, you probably shouldn't be hiring. Is that what you're saying?
Well, if you're lazy, you're probably like, here's a bit of a, man, this is a thought process that I think most business owners that are successful, that understand scale, are inherently lazy.
Okay.
Right. And there's that's probably a bit polarizing.
Yeah.
Right. But people that understand scale, I'll say it again, people that understand and know how to scale, right, are inherently lazy because they don't want to do the work, right? And they know that they can't do the work, right? And they want to build a lifestyle that facilitates their happiness. And that is not fucking grinding, doing the thing, trading 1 unit of input for 1 unit of output, right? Now, that arguably, depending on what way you look at this, depending on the side of the coin, like that seems super efficient, right? Really great business model, but it's also lazy.
Yeah.
Right, let's call a spade a spade. Like it's if you're...
Hey everyone, what's going on? Hope you're well. I won't keep you too long because hopefully we're doing a really good job in providing you some value. And if we are, it would be a great favor for me, and we would appreciate massively if you could leave us a 5-star review, like, comment, or subscribe if you're on YouTube. If you're on Spotify, you don't even need to stop listening. It's very easy to just give us a 5-star review. It takes less than 10 seconds and it helps the channel move forward and helps our message grow tremendously. And as I said, I would appreciate it greatly. Again, I don't want to keep you too long. One last thing. If you do want to take this one step further and help push our message and help spread the word of Lambs to Lions, you can do us another favor. You can just simply put up a post of you listening or consuming our content in any way. Share it to your stories, tag us, and we're going to be picking one winner every single week to win some apparel and potentially guest spot on the podcast themselves to highlight their business and what they've got going on in their world. We do appreciate it. And again, thank you so much for listening. And if you could leave us a review, again, massively appreciated. Back to the show.
I don't think there's inherently anything wrong with being lazy. But at the same time, it's if you're running a $10 million company, you can afford to be lazy. But if you're running an infancy startup in a PT business, I don't think you can afford to be lazy.
But this is my point, man. Like to people that understand scale.
Yeah, okay.
Right? People
you're at that point.
But no. So let's say even early on, right? People that understand scale, not have scale, people that understand scale are inherently lazy because they're trying to build something to a point where they don't have to do it.
Yeah, okay. No, that's clicking now.
They're willing to do the work to get there. Right. And they will do the work. They will find a way to do the work, but they will hate the process. The time investment will be annoying, but they do it to create scale, to create freedom. Now, every entrepreneur, every person that says what's happiness is freedom, right? The reason you build freedom is because you don't like doing monotonous work.
Yep.
Right. Now, I love growing. I love success. I love getting there, but the process, the late nights, the 4 a.m. walking, getting home, leaving this place, waking up at 7, I fucking hate.
Yeah.
But I will do it because I want to build something where I no longer have to do that ever again.
You can be lazy.
I can be. Yeah.
You have the option to rather than,
But if that's the thing, if I'm desiring the option of lazy, I'm inherently lazy. And I just have a capacity to weather the storm. As I said before, I'm the person that can carry it on my shoulders, hold the weight up and do the thing.
Yeah.
Knowing that I'm the only person that can do the thing within this business.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah, interesting.
But I'm doing it to a point because I don't want to have to do it forever.
You can delay that gratification until...
Cool. And that's what entrepreneurship is. Right? Entrepreneurship is just delayed gratification, right? Impulse control, right? Really good, really successful entrepreneurs. Delayed gratification, impulse control. We think we're better than everyone else, and we always have a massive fear of failure.
Yeah.
Right? They're the 4 things. If you can do that, you will succeed. If they are you, if that describes who you are, you will succeed. Because You need to have the arrogance or the ego to know that you are better, right? Because that was what will get you the fuck up in the morning, right? But you also have to have the fear that you will fail to make sure you keep doing the work, right? You need to have impulse control because every entrepreneur has a million ideas every day of the week, right? And it's about creating a hierarchy of importance around those ideas. What ideas are actually worth your time, money, and effort, right? But then you also need to be able to do that on repeat for a long period of time without any progress, delayed gratification. You do that, that's business, right? And then you apply those 4 things to the 5, 6 pillars that I mentioned before. And if you can just have delayed gratification, impulse control, know that you're better, and fear that you'll fail around people, marketing, sales, operations, and finance, you'll move. You'll be able to make fucking massive moves, right? And it's just about understanding those pillars. And I think that's where like the main point of this show is understand those pillars, right? And in short, that's business, mindset, and motivation. That's really what they are.
And we'll dive into all of those in episodes coming. But one question I had is, how do you deal with your fear of failure? How do you stop it to a point where it becomes crippling? Because I'm sure a lot of people going into business have that fear of failure as soon as they, because I know I did. Mine inherently failed, but at the same time, it's like I still had that fear. I didn't want it to fail, but regardless, it failed. It is what it is. But how do you stop? Because LIONSTONE is far bigger than mine ever was. How do you stop that fear of failure?
Well, LIONSTONE now is far bigger than I ever thought it would be. I didn't enter business thinking that I'm going to be a business owner. I didn't enter owning a business, right? I entered into, like I said before, having a hobby I traded time for and had like however many bosses, right? My clients were my boss. I worked on their terms. So my fear of failure now is reverse engineered because I've done more than I ever thought I would. And I never thought it would go anywhere. I always thought it would fail. And the fact that now I've done more than I ever thought I would now drives me forward to like, okay, well, why is that not possible to repeat, replicate, and drive forward? And I guess what started that thought process is, cliche as it is don't have another option.
Yeah.
Like my fear of failure still keeps me up at night. I do worry, and I do like this holding the weight of the world as far as this business on my shoulders. I worry about paying you guys. I worry about making sure that, you know, the business is never in a spot where we can't make payroll, right? That we're running in negatives, right? And we could be turning over 7 figures a year, but that's still a possibility, right? And my biggest flex is not what we make, but it's what we pay, right? As a company, like we pay out more than $600,000 a year. And for me, that's scary as fuck. And I definitely still have that fear, but my fear of failure is, I guess, combated because I leave myself no choice. I've said this a million times, but like, you know, when we've had points of stress in the business, when there's been points where it's like, okay, this is fucking a bit, you know, this is going to be hard, right? Opening this space, right? It's going to be a 2-year storm that we're going to have to weather. That's okay. But I've said every single time that like I would sell a fucking kidney before I didn't pay you guys, right? I would make sure that, you know, I will leave myself no other choice other than this working because I don't know what life looks like without it working.
Yeah.
And it's cliche, but my option B is like going into a grave. And I know that sounds extreme, but my option B is like, you got no other choice, make it fucking work.
Do you think everyone should have that mentality in coming into business? I
think it's necessary.
Do you think people who have an option B will inherently fail?
Not necessarily inherently fail because, you know, for example, I'm venturing out into other businesses now anyway. That means I've got other backups, so to speak, right? I'm applying skill set into other businesses and, you know, diversifying, investing and so on. But startup, if you're trying to start up and have multiple startups at once, maybe all of them won't fail, but none of them will succeed to the degree that they should or possibly could.
Is that because you're spreading yourself too thin?
Spreading thin, but also like not only are you spreading your mental acuity thin, you're spreading your ability to apply business knowledge and make decisions, and decision fatigue will kick in somewhere. But I will say there, man, and I think, I don't know if I've said this before on like, you know, this kind of discussion, like we've already filmed other episodes, so this might be said. So I haven't said it on this podcast realistically, right? But I think the startup phase is the easiest phase of any business.
Okay. Right.
Most people say that it's the hardest, right? Because like it's where you have to have the most risk and you've got the most work ethic and you've got to do the longest hours and so on. But that's all predictable. If you know that going in, like I said before, like the easiest way, why I say that startup is the easiest is because it is a predictable model of you put a unit of input in, you'll get a unit of input out. You'll get an output. Yeah. So it's the easiest phase because it's a 1-for-1 ratio of input to output. You do the work, you'll get paid. Delayed gratification granted, right? And I say it all the time. If the work you do in the first 6 months for free is the work you'll get paid for 6 months later, but it's predictable and you know that, and all you need to do is just fucking work.
Yeah.
Right? All you need to do is just get fucking resourceful. And if the only resource you have is fucking time that you can give, is just fucking give it. Right? That's easy because it's predictable. It's simple. Do the work, get the outcome.
Yeah.
Startup is simple. Scale up is fucking hard.
Why? Why is scale up so hard?
Well, scale up from any degree is hard, right? So if you make your first 6 figures, what makes you your first 6 figures will likely not make you your next 6 figures, because what it took to get you to 100K, you're going to have to essentially double the work to get you to 200. If all it did was to get you to, all you had to do was do the same thing, you'd have to double the work, double the time. Now, if you're making 100K by working 40 hours a week, how do you double that? 80-hour weeks? How do you double that again to get to 400? At some point, there's a diminishing return. You can't just leverage time. You can't just leverage work ethic.
So what do you look for in order to get you to that?
Well, it's pulling those levers of those 5 pillars and trying to actually systemize and process and, I guess, outsource appropriately so you get better time for money, right? So then you're getting every unit of input, triples, compounds, hundreds, whatever, right? And that's hard because as the business owner, you don't have that skill set. What got you to, let's say 500K, you have the skill set that you traded time for money. Maybe you hired, maybe you outsourced, but then to scale to 7 figures, you can't just replicate that or do it more.
Yeah.
Right? Because what profits go through the fucking drain. If all you do is just hire triple the amount of people to get you to 7 figures, your profit margin's not actually influenced that all that good as a percentage.
Yeah. Okay.
Total amount will increase, but as a percentage, you're still only making a profit of 20%. So what you need to do to become more profitable as you scale is learn like what levers to pull and what actions to take that will triple, if not quadruple, if not infinitely multiply a compounding interest on your output.
And are those lessons all very individual per business, or are there some blanket rules that you would put in place?
Oh, there's heaps, man, and we'll go through them. I think that like every rule and every, I guess, principle and every process is going to be different. It's going to be applicable to businesses as a whole. I think business acumen can be applied across business in general.
Yep.
Right. And there are frameworks and processes that can be taken to actually pull those levers to get more efficient, to get better at like a better time for money equation and move away from selling that. But ultimately, it's just about a decision-making process of what lever to pull and when, and realistically trying to figure out that multiplier, right? What is the multiplier from unit of input to output, and how do you actually maximize that? Because why that's the hardest part. So scale up being the hardest fucking part is because one, you don't have the skill set, right? What built you will not grow you. So you need to learn more. You need to get something new. You can't just do the same thing. And if you don't have the skill set, you got to go find it, pay for it, or learn it.
Yep.
Right. And then 2, it's going to be habit centric. It's like, okay, what habits do I need to remove and adapt and alter, right? Supplement, so to speak. You don't need a change. You need a fucking supplement. You need a change. You don't need to remove. You need a supplement. You don't need a, you know what I'm saying? It's not just a straight trade. You need to adapt and actually grow and I guess morph your habits.
You're plugging things in to make you a better business owner.
Yeah, but it's not just a stop doing this and do this instead. Yeah, it's like you need to morph the habit you currently have into something new and better.
Okay.
And potentially remove things too, right? It's about subtract, not add.
Right.
So subtract time. So you need to relinquish control. You need to relinquish the ability to go, okay, I do this task really, really well, but okay, you need to hire someone, train them, and it might mean 2 steps back while you train them, but then they're going to go move forward and do it really fucking well without your finger on the pulse.
So it's a short-term setback for long-term gain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like, as far as simple scalable things, it's like, I guess for a take-home point is like the more fixed costs you can work into your business, the better. So not scalable costs, not movable costs, everything that's fixed. Like for example, staff that are on salaries, they've got a fixed cost. Everything that comes in that they earn, every dollar they earn above their salary is profit.
Yep.
So like fixed costs are king. Build as many fixed costs into your business, like profit margins will just increase and increase and increase as you grow.
Interesting. So there's one thing I actually wanted to touch on that I don't know if you want us to talk about in this episode in particular, but your mentoring. What got you into it? You started this podcast in order to help, but at the same time, you're also a business mentor. So what got you into mentoring initially?
fucking shit mentors. Right? I think, look, man, the mentoring space is I'm going to use a real childish word, but it's icky. Right. And hear me out, man, because you look around the mentoring space as a business owner and there are people just fucking selling icky shit. Right. And what I mean by that is when you read it, you're like, oh, yuck. Right. How is that business? If all you're doing is selling product and creating new relevance every week and go, here's a new thing, buy my thing. Here's a new thing, buy my thing. Right. It's fucking yucky. Right. Gives me the ick massively. But I look at when I first started business, I looked around and, there were not many business mentors back in 2012, especially in the fitness industry. Right. And the ones that did pop up are the losers that were sitting on the beach being like, oh, do you want to own a business and sit around and do nothing? It was really like wanky. Yeah. But ultimately there was no people that solved problems. Okay. Like I was swimming in very deep water with no direction. And I even now sit around and go, okay, I don't know how I know some of the things I know. And the only thing I can lean on is experience, because I've been through the shit. I've been through the process of almost failing, building again, almost failing, building again, trying to figure out what process is going to create the largest return on investment. And then also trying to, I guess, consume as much education as possible to then have a process that is concise and specific and directional for people. And when I look around the mentoring space, man, there's just a lot of stuff of just placebo-based bullshit. Yeah. So where people are just trying to throw fix yourself and your business will grow. Fix yourself, business will grow. Yeah, it will. If you address your problems and you address your limiting beliefs, your business will fucking grow. But the problem there is all you're fucking doing is doing the shit you should have fucking done in the first place. Yeah. Right? Addressing yourself and addressing you as the issue is only going to be a placebo, because it just opens up your capacity of workload. You just work more. Yeah. That's not business. If all you do is fucking work more, that is not business. Right. And it's just exactly what I said before. First phase in startup is easy, and that's not business. If you're in a startup, you're not running a business. You're just trading time for money. Yep. And that's okay, but that's not fucking business.
So you're saying that currently in the mentoring space, that there's not a lot of people that are actually solving problems. They're more just providing silly solutions.
Not even solutions. Okay. I think they're providing just emotional support and emotional, almost like, you remember when YouTube first came out and it was very clickbaity, right? They're essentially providing emotional clickbait.
Right.
And that's realistically what has taken over the mentoring space in let's say business mentoring, life coaching, whatever it might be. It's all just addressing the simple, surface level shit that's very clickbaity that people know. And this is one thing for people at home. If you feel like you are triggered, or you feel like you want to purchase the thing when it's really emotional and really language driven, that's intentional. Right. And I can say this wholeheartedly. We sell on emotion, right? In coaching, we sell on emotion, but there's a way to sell on emotion that's not fucking underhanded and sly and fucking pushy.
You're not praying.
And praying, that's a perfect word. You're not preying on the weak. And I have a fucking big problem with weakness as a whole in business, is having no financial literacy and having no financial stability, right? Now, the thing that people have noticed is if you prey on that financial weakness, fucking huge market. Yep. If I can sit here and tell you, are you stressed? Do you feel this? Do you feel like that money is has a chokehold over you and your business, and you feel like that you need to be empowered to take that next step? It's emotional, right? Of course you're going to buy that, but what do you get from it? Yeah. What do you get? How do you and the problem here is this, most people, and I found this when I was growing through business, there's no one teaching skill set in business. There's no one teaching you the ability to actually have a fast turnaround time in decision making, and what decisions are appropriate and why are they appropriate. The big thing is being why. Not just do this thing, hey, I did it, do it. Yeah. Why is it a good idea? Giving context.
You're teaching also critical thinking skills.
And that's realistically what coaching should be, mentoring should be, is yes, I can draw from experience, but I'm going to teach you as to why this thing worked rather than just do the thing I did. Yeah. Because that might not work for you. And if it doesn't, I don't want to fucking break the matrix. I don't want you breaking my matrix and go, oh, but what about this? If I give you a principle, right, you can fucking create the method. Yeah. Right. Here's the principle. Here's why things work. Here's the psychological response. Here's the this. Yeah. You can now create a method that aligns with that you can now have a predictable outcome with.
Yeah, because everyone's business has nuance to it.
Everyone's business has nuance to it, absolutely, right? But if we look at fitness as a whole, everyone does the same fucking thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? And so if we look at that as our first point of call to like, okay, let's dive into the business chats there. Everyone does the same fucking thing. The faster you learn that, the better. So then you can start to move into like, well, how do I create points of difference? If my service is the same, how do I create points of difference? How do I then understand people's responses? How do I create predictability and anti-fragility? And I think that's the big thing for me, man, is just becoming anti-fucking fragile, right? Because you don't want to be the glass bottle that breaks when it's dropped.
Yeah.
Because business is like a fucking roller coaster, and you will get dropped on your ass 10 times before you actually succeed, even remotely. And you want to have something that is so stable that even when it is dropped, it doesn't fucking break.
Yeah.
And that's where like actual business acumen and skill set comes into play. It's not just this fluffy shit of like feel better, be better. It's having the skill set to build something that just becomes rubberized, that when you drop it, it fucking bounces.
Yeah. Yeah. So you need to create predictability.
Yeah. And that's where like, that's what I want to do, man. That's what this, build from a lamb to lion, build from weakness to strong, right? Become anti-fragile, become the thing that bounces. When you're dropped, that you bounce back up and you're not starting from ground zero anymore. You're starting halfway up the ladder. And that's where like, that's what I want to do, dude. I think like, even having you on the podcast, I think you've obviously got a different perspective because you've seen things happen, and you like, I think it's pretty fair to say that when you bring an idea to the table, I'm not the guy that just says, no, I'm the guy, I'm the boss. Like, no, I'm the boss. It's like, you bring an idea and it's fucking right. We're going to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's critical, man. Like knowing who to listen to, having the right people to listen to.
That's another good question, because I'm sure a lot of people that are starting, I don't know why I keep talking specifically fitness businesses here, but everyone who wants to start a business will go and ask for advice. Who should you be? Mum and dad maybe not the best people to ask advice from. How would you go and who do you ask advice from?
Here's the thing. Business mentoring should be a leapfrogging process, right? So when you're trying, not even mentoring, but just trying to get advice, it should be a leapfrog, right? So you should be tapping on the shoulder of someone that is ahead of you, has experienced your problem, has jumped over many people behind you, right? And you can tap them on the shoulder, jump over their shoulders, and have their problems, have their skill set already solved. So you shouldn't take advice from someone that hasn't actually experienced what you've been through. But also, if we put this into some tangible, like real world scenarios, talk to people that talk in double zeros more than you. It's that simple.
That's a good piece of advice,
right? Like if you want advice on business, talk to people that have 2 more zeros in every conversation than you, right? Rather than talking to people in dollars, if I wanted business advice, I'm talking to someone in the double millions, right? I don't want to talk to someone in the thousands.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to talk to someone that's got advice in thousands or talking about purchasing in thousands. Talk to me about purchasing in millions. Now I want to listen.
Yeah.
Right. That's realistically where to find advice is talk to people with 2 more zeros than you.
Interesting. Trying to get someone with double zeros if you are not.
How to get in the room?
Yeah.
How to network? Strategical networking. Networking is dead. Just messaging everyone, trying to just get in any room is dead. Strategical networking. So if you write down the 10 people that you want to be in a room with 10 years from now, right? Find the people that they interact with that are a lower scale than them. Because they will. There's going to be people that are technically lower on their scale, but they're on their radar. Find the people on their radar, on their lowest portion of their radar, and then find the person of that person's lowest on their radar and just build out a network, slowly get your way towards that person. Right. And we're in a digital age, man. You don't necessarily have to get in a room.
No,
you have to get, all you need is an in, all you need is to be noticed. Right. And it's realistically it is that simple. Find the 10 people you want to be in a room with in 10 years. That is realistic. I'm not talking about someone that's in fucking Antarctica, right? I'm talking about someone like, let's say your community, your state, your country, right? Find the 10 people that you want to be in a room with. Okay. Or in your industry even. Start there. Find those 10 people. Find the 10 people that they interact with that are lowest on their radar. Then keep going down the scale of those people. Eventually, you're going to be able to get a foot in the door with someone that's on the lowest radar of the person 4 steps below. Yeah. Yeah. 5 points of contact below the person you want to be in a room with, and be strategical, right? It's it's the 48 laws of power, right? It's the art of war. It's be fucking strategical. Know your end outcome and make moves every step of the way, reverse engineer from there and just make moves. Yeah. And make moves fucking quick.
I think there might be some people that might think that's a little bit disingenuous, but unless you're, do you need to provide value to those people to even bother messaging them?
Well, let's put it straight, man. If someone messaged you that we're 2 zeros below, what would catch your eye?
Not much unless they were solving a problem.
There you go.
Yeah.
If it was
Providing
just
a
hey,
solution.
can I pick your brain for a coffee? Right. Maybe, different story if we're talking about like the 100 grand business model.
Yeah.
Because there's hundreds in your local area of businesses that earn 100 grand. Right. And I think if we come back to the model of fitness, the 100 grand fitness trainer, they're going to have an ego on their heads bigger than fucking Mount Everest because they think that they've just hit the cream of the crop, made my first 100K. They'll tell everyone. Yeah. If there's a trainer in your gym that's making 100 grand, you go, oh, can I take you for coffee? They're going to say yes because it's going to give them an opportunity to talk about them.
Yeah.
But as you go higher up that scale, people care less about talking about themselves and more want to hear about what you have to offer. So like, I will not say yes to a coffee catch up anymore for people that just like want to catch up. Yeah. Like people from school or people from like back in the day when I worked in gyms, like, oh man, can I just pick your brain? It's like, no, no, you can't.
Well, as you have more zeros, your time becomes more valuable.
Yeah.
It's not even from like you have to pay me standpoint. It's like your time is better served.
Well, my time is like right now, my time is spent building things and growing things, and time spent away from that is valuable time. Not necessarily on a monetary perspective, but even just intrinsically. Yeah. So like value is the best thing. Like solve a problem, provide value. If we're talking lower scale, if you're just in startup and want to learn how to make your first 2K a week, that's fine. Like go talk to the person that does it, learn from them, and I guess learn to read between the lines because what they say is only going to be half truths. Yeah. And that's going to be the case for all the way. I think like, in all the quote unquote rooms that I've been in, as I've gone through the scale of business, the higher up that ladder you get, the less bullshit. Early on, there's a lot of ego and a lot of like, have to read between the lines to see what's actually worked. Yeah. Because people don't want to share their success and share what they did. Whereas I'm very confident I can share exactly what I've done, and I will share it over the course of this podcast. I'll share exactly what we've done because one, I'm confident that, if people replicate it, it will work. And I feel like there's enough market share out there in the world that, everyone can be successful. But I'm also very confident that not many people will actually do it. Yeah. So that's fine. I'm happy to share because I don't really care on the outcome. Yeah. If it helps you, great. If you don't action it, great. That's fine. Yeah. But like early on, man, it's just like learning to read between the lines. Interesting. I think that's a really, that welcome, like guys, if you have, lasted this long, welcome. I appreciate it. Obviously being a new show, as we said early on, share it, like it. And if you could leave us a 5-star review on Spotify, that would be amazing. And we've got some, I guess, over the next few months, we're going to be drip feeding some cool content out to you guys via this platform, whether it be, course structure, going through some units, going through some things, but we've got some really good guests already filmed and some great guests already lined up over the next few months. Yep. So if your business mindset and motivation is something that you seek, and, pertaining to specifically those pillars that I mentioned before, I think these conversations are going to be really valuable. And, if you do find them valuable, make sure you let other people know. Pat, anything else you want to add? I don't think so. You already covered the rating. You already covered everything. See you guys next week. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown.